All right, so we'll get started. Jason is out. I did have a guest scheduled. Unfortunately, they are not able to make it today, so we'll get started. Um, I had decided to go through and talk about using spaces. And also, what we'll go through and talk about is layers within your markups. So, those are my two ideas rolling into today. Unless any of you have any questions or workflows that you'd like to see. So, what we'll do with spaces is we'll actually talk about Revit via the add in to create your spaces first. And then, if not, what you're able to do is you can create and generate spaces manually in Review. But I love automation. So, if you do have an architectural Revit model that has rooms. You can create spaces from there. There are no updates. I haven't gotten any recent updates from Bluebeam. And I can check to see if they've updated anything. I'm not going to go and check the app because we've talked a lot about the app lately and there hasn't been too many updates. But any tips and tricks on using forms as creating a document? Managing the list. What are you trying to manage in the list, I guess, would be the question, Brian. Any tips? There's the automation for forms. Let me go through and prime up review. And we'll talk about forms to start out. This over to here. Make sure I don't have anything up. Okay. You'll see me looking to the left a lot because I'm going to be monitoring the chat myself. So back up to the tops wouldn't remain collapsed. So what I can do is we'll go through and create a RFI without a form, and then we'll do another template fax. Yeah, it looks like a good form. And then what I'll do to get more of these, because what you're saying is there's a ton of PDFs. This one obviously doesn't have it. We'll do this. Just a bunch of copies to mimic maybe however many pages. Oops, don't want this one. You have. So basically, I'm going to use the automatic form feature. For those that didn't know, Review does have an automatic form feature. Yeah, Brian, if I can't replicate what you're doing, then we'll have you show. But what I'm able to do is I can create automatic forms. So it looks like I have a bunch scrolling through, but if I subtract, I'm assuming this is what you're doing, Brian, because you want to be able to scroll through. Hit escape because I'm in the form command. And then if I go to, a couple pages down and I want to look over here, yeah, now rename one of the forms. So rename one of the form fields. Oh, that it did. It literally redid everything. I collapsed fields. It sounds like a bug because you would want to be able to do this. And then if you went to, please recycle, rename this again. What if I just hit enter? Nope, same thing. Wow. Hmm. What if there is a way to rename, then if you click out, so it didn't even do it. Oh, even the click out made it uncollapse again. What if I go from the bottom? Same thing. Yeah. Looks like some type of bug. Let's see. There's no presettings here. Let's check our settings. I don't think there's much to do with forms here except for this. Enable short keys. Don't care about that. Highlight. Nope. So these are the only things you get for forms. But if you have a large form field like this and you want to rename them, you're kind of out of luck. Here's your state. It's not going to help me. Assuming they don't have a code for. Yeah, it just says highlight. There's not much additional settings here. So to me, that would be more of a bug. It's replicatable. Just pushes all of our unfortunate. Let's recheck the chat. You can save a view similar to the way you can save a clap bookmark list. That's what I was trying to see. Like, there's not much, there's no settings. I can't right click in here. The thing you can do is right click on an additional one, delete and rename it. It doesn't give you much additional options. And then under here, forms doesn't give you anything either. There's no additional settings, unfortunately. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, when I right click it, there's no options. When I right click the name, it gives you delete and rename, but that's it. And then we checked the preferences, and there is only 3 settings here: highlight, highlight color, and enable keyboard shortcuts. So there isn't anything specific to that. Hmm. Oh, even exiting out of that undid it. So it looks like anything clicking out, it doesn't default save a setting from forms collapsing of these fields. Hmm. We're talking about this, the collapsing of these to help navigate if you're renaming a bunch, reordering these, those types of things. That was the question. So we'll close out of that. Again, at any point, feel free to let me know if you have any additional questions or things you'd like to talk about. That's what this is truly about. But we'll go through and do some workflows in Revit to kind of show you what spaces are meant for, and what kind of enhancements it gives you, especially when you're sorting and looking up information in the markups list. It definitely is a big, I would say, yeah, it's definitely an asset to have if you have that capability. But basically, what you have in Revit, for those folks that may not be using Revit, is what's called rooms. So you have these rooms here. Let me click on the room. And this is essentially what you're able to go through and create within Revit. And it's not spaces in Revit. So from a mechanical, electrical, plumbing side, they have spaces. From an architectural side, you have these things called rooms. They're a room boundary. And what these do is actually come in as what's called spaces in review. And we'll show you the benefit of that in a second. But the great thing about this is that you can actually export these rooms that have already been pre-created in the Revit model if you have the add-in. So the add-in is right here, and there are some settings that you can go through and utilize that will actually allow you to go through and create these spaces. The additional part is that this is on a color plan. I was looking up this looking for this plan earlier, and I couldn't find where they did this in the out of the box data set, but they do have it here. So what you're able to do is export this plan, and the colors, this didn't used to be the case. It would default to blue. They've enhanced this feature. Now what you can go through and do is actually export this sheet out with the colors associated to the rooms, and it will actually create those rooms for you with those spaces and colors. So what I'm going to go through and do is create a PDF, but before I do, I'm going to change my settings because there's a little settings button that you need to use in order to get this. Let's see. Am I missing anything in the chat? Yeah, export spaces. See, so for those watching and listening, Doug's requesting spaces. So if you're an architectural team, printing out some sheets with spaces definitely helps other team members. But basically you have export rooms to spaces setting right here. And then you have export rooms to areas. So if you wanted area measurements pre-calculated, if you had an opening, so if you don't know what openings are, they could be a shaft opening, it could be a wall opening. I guess that would be for like a section. But if you're going to do rooms, you can convert those rooms into areas, and then you can subtract openings. So if there's some type of opening that is used in a room area, it will subtract that. So what we can then do is, I'm not going to do areas. I'm just going to do spaces as my settings. So this is your settings. Then you can create PDF, but I'm going to select a specific sheet that I want to print out, and that's this SD sheet level 1. There it is. So this is this first floor. It's this sheet right here that I'm working in. And then you have some additional settings. Revit finally came out with this same type of workflow where you can deselect specific views on sheets. So if you wanted, there's additional settings down here. So if I'm going to print this sheet out, you can actually not show some things in here like a legend or like a panel schedule or drafting views. None of the drafting views on this sheet will get printed out. Just some quick tip things there. Now what I can go through do from here is I can go through and create this file. I probably should check the print settings, but I think I'll be fine. So what we'll do is we'll go to my desktop here. We'll save it here. Did it open up a whole new instance? It did. Instead of opening it up in the instance that I had open, it already created it here. But again, excuse me. The great part about this is that it actually already creates those rooms as spaces too. So, did it create it as a vector base because there's shadows here? I mean, raster. Let's see. Why isn't it letting me select? That's weird that it's not letting me select if I wanted to, only when one's selected, but okay. So just to show you again, you have the color associations to these. So pre-created those colors and assign them with it. So if I go and right click on one of these, what you can see is the properties. From the properties, it already defaults the color of what it was originally created with it, which is weird because let me go to commercial retail space here. Yeah, for some reason, it didn't get some of these. What did it name that one as? I guess that was a bad example. That's why it won't let me click that one, because some of them didn't print out as well. But going over to here, maybe it's a color, specific color. I'll have to go through and troubleshoot that later. And it doesn't actually show the color that it should have been. It just somehow defaulted to it. But anyways, going back, you have the elevator 2 and 1. So we'll go to the 1. Now, the great part about this is what it allows you to do. So, for instance, it didn't create this commercial retail area for some reason. So that's what I'm going to do to show you how to create your own. So instead of it having a manual process of going through and saying, hey, let me add a space, you could do click by click. So you can go through and click each and every single one of these areas around here in order to create your space, which is time consuming. And instead of that, you can have it created just as a room into a space. So again, click, click. And it doesn't have to be perfect depending on what you're using spaces for. If you're using spaces to place items, you just need to be aware that the markup has to take up a little bit more than half in order to fall into that space. And it helps with estimating. It helps with punch lists. It's organizing your data set in the markups list. So I'm going to keep going through and just clicking from here to here. So we have this lovely curtain wall system here, up and then over. Okay. So this one is going to be called the commercial space since it didn't print out, and I'm going to have to figure out why. But we'll do that. And then you can always change the color. And this one was more of like a peach color. So we'll just use that one. Kind of looks similar. Perfect. So now anything that falls into here or any of my other ones that I have as well, it will be assigned from there as a grouping. So what we'll go through and do, we'll use a punch list example first. So I'm going to go over to here and we'll use a punch key plan. So these are just tool sets that you can download from online. I know Troy DeGroot also has some that he customized himself at UChapter 2, so feel free to check those out. But what you're able to do is select one of these, and you can place it. This is something you do in your punch list out in the field. And if you have spaces already pre-created prior to uploading into a session, this will work when you're out in the fields and then you're coming back and you want to itemize the data for like a punch list walkthrough. But essentially from here, what you can label is this AT, which I have no idea what this is because it's, again, something I grabbed from someone else's, but it means Axis Panel Titan. And then you can do a touch up. We'll do clean paint overspray in the cafe over here because I believe, yep, Cafe 101 right here does have one. And then we'll do another one of tile chipped repaired in the commercial retail area that I just created. And I'll also show you this touch up one. I think it has to be a certain amount of coverage, just so you're all aware. So it did capture it. How much till it doesn't capture it? So it just needs it barely. Now what happens if I'm 2 and 2? I think it's the more you're in on one of them. Oh, you know what it's going to be? I bet you it's going to be the insertion point, wherever that one is going through. So let's see. Yeah, see this bottom left? That's where this is default to its location. So right here, wherever this is touching is where it's going to default the location, I bet. That's why if I move this back, it's still picking up the pocket. For those of you like, hey, how's Michael knowing this? I'm looking down here. And then once it's in between, there's a space here between this space and this space. And it's probably this default drop location when it finally gets over. Yep, that's what it is. It's not the actual full markup. That's silly. But okay. Let me check the comments. Yeah, there's a dynamic fill way too. Yeah. So the only issue is that not a lot of people have complete tier. So you can manually create them, but dynamic fill is way easier. So if I wanted to use a dynamic fill feature, so you have some settings, you can do boundary size, you can do fill speed. I'm going to create a boundary from here to here so that it doesn't overpour there. I'm going to I guess I hit close and I want to just close my settings. So from here to here, enter, and then here to here. I think we should be good here. Yeah, that should be fine. So what I'm going to do then is what you can go through and do is pour this. And let me get this door area. And now what I can go through and do is apply a space to this so that you don't have to. And then it didn't name it, so you'd come back, rename, and rename this as utility. Ooh, I had my cap lock on. So this is if you have the complete tier of review. I think I hit Y instead of T. And then what color did they have? Like a green? Properties. I like to make it a color association. So you could, by all means, do what you'd like. Okay, so now the same thing. Dynamic fill would be a lot quicker than pick select. Let's see what else. Yes. Oh, Doug's doing an assembly. I like it. So let's do that. That would be great for what Doug does. So for those folks that don't know, casework, right? So if you wanted to create an assembly package like a door, I'm just ripping off examples, Doug. You can probably say that among other things. Okay, like hinges. I'm thinking of just a cabinet. So you have the door, you have the hinge, you have the handle. You could do like an assembly package, right? Something like that. I've always thought of like an install location. Did it get moved to the right location? Yeah, full window assembly too. Yeah. So we'll show that as well. But I want to show you all what this means down here in your markups list is your data. So from a punch list, you'll have this thing in the markups list. You have your three dots or three lines for those folks that may not know what the markups list is. You have the drop down of the markups lists. From here, now what you can go through and do is look at your columns and you want spaces shown. So I'm going to left click hold on this column of data and drag it over because I want to organize by my space what markups. Well, I don't like that. I'm going to move it back over because I want the subject. So, but basically what you do is let me place a couple more so we can kind of see how this looks. Better data. But essentially what you could do here is you can see this space overall. And then from the space, you see the Pocket Park 104 has 4 punch items in there. And I guess you could do comments. So let's organize by space and have the space, the comments right next to it. So now you have in cafe, you have clean paint overspray, screw missing. And you can even do this in the markups list PDF summary report. I really like this feature as well, because what I can go through and do is add additional organization in your summary report. So from PDF summary report, we're going to organize our data by inserting a page break by space. You can even create a spaces cover sheet. So let me go through and show you what this data looks like. This is a pretty cool feature too. So what you'll have here is now in the summary report, you'll have your space broken out so people can visually see where this issue is going to be pertaining to from a punch list perspective. And you have clean paint spray, clean paint overspray. So that's this markup here. And then what you can do is add additional padding so that you're actually seeing that markup better. So what I mean is what we'll go through and do is redo that summary report. And you can create this by space. They don't even, I wonder if there's some other option at some point, but you have this padding and I think it's up, gives you more space of the PDF. So we'll create more space and I'm going to actually append so you can see it. It's going to staple it to the back of this PDF. This is what I would do if I was doing a punch list. Yeah, it's up. So the more you go up, the more you get from a defined. Did I uncheck? Of course I did. I unchecked that after. Delete these. Thank you. Let's go back and redo it. Append by space with a cover sheet. And we'll keep that 60% padding. So now you have more of a view. I guess you go to 100 if you want more surrounding PDF of your markup. So that way people can see where it is, because it doesn't show you, this shows you just the space cut out. It doesn't show you the markup of that space in this area. What this is meant to do with a clickable selection, it brings you to where that markup was made on the PDF. That would be cool if that feature was added of like, hey, place markup here so you can see the markups there, but it's showing you the markup pertaining to the space up here because it's just showing the space overall. Let's try and bump up that padding and see, because I don't like that. So I'll go through and delete this. We'll go through and reprint the summary report. And we'll add 100 to this. Yeah, this is a lot better. So then you can visually see that. And again, I didn't re-click that, but the cover sheet would be pertaining to that, and you'd have a better visual of what's in that surrounding area and where that markup was placed. So that's probably what I would do. Just additional padding. Elevation items captured that are within that space. Yeah. I wish there was a way to have a live summary removing and deleting items, but I do not know one currently, because then you don't have to do what I'm doing right there, which is deleting. That was the question for that. So what Doug is saying is install package by an elevation. I think I have some open sets here. So let me go to this documents, and we'll go to PDFs here. Bluebeam, demo docs, sheets. I think it's this one. Yeah. So you'd have an elevation like this. And what you could do is like a cabinet. Doug, I'm totally just thinking that this is something you would do, so correct me at any point. But basically, I'd go here, and this would be cab 1. And then you'd have tool sets. I don't have any awesome tool sets like Doug does, but I do have some of these electrical telecom tool sets. But it would be kind of like, oh, you don't go that far. Okay. But I'll just show an example. Maybe, you have like a television. All right, we'll just apply to scale. That's fine. You have these different things that would be part of this specific unit. And then down here, you can organize by that space of data. And this is everything that's supposed to be part of that cabinet 1. But you could do that, yeah. I capture the elevation, and then, yeah. So this could be one way. This is what is included with that. I've also thought about, from a term of this layout, you could do an install location. So let's say a sofa was going to be installed here. What's the scale? Nath. So basically what you can go through and do is I would, there's a sofa here, there's a piano, there's a wood table, were things installed. So what you can go through and do is do a status of shipped, installed, those types of things in that location. For the sofa, the patio, the wood grain table, that could be an option as well. So you do like an install package for folks that are going out to the field, bringing things into a specific room. That could also be an example of spaces and using that in review. So just some additional options that provide some depth to spaces overall. You can also, whenever you have a space, you can right click and create an area measurement directly from that space. You can even take a snapshot, so it's easier to do like an enlarged plan. So if I want to do an enlarged plan of this overall area, we'll do the outdoor covering. You just take a snapshot, and then down here in the bottom right, I can do Control V, and it's going to give you a snapshot of that space, just like that. So wherever that space encompassed, it'll allow you to create a snapshot very quickly. What else? The area measurement. I think that's pretty much it. Let's see. Any other comments that I had? Nope. Perfect. So that's a couple of workflows with spaces. Again, at any point, if you all have a question or a workflow you'd like to see, feel free to ask. Next week, we will have a guest. Mr. Matt Lynn will be on to join me. And then the following week, I'll be out because I'm getting my eyes checked. And then we'll be back. And then Jason will be back after that. So remember, Jason's on sabbatical right now, enjoying his time off. Okay, going back into it. So you had that for spaces. Now let's talk about layering, because that's also a great example of organizing your data. So right now I don't have any layers pre-assigned, but what you could do in order to not see or see markups on a specific PDF is pre-assign layers in your tool sets. So what I could have done for this punch key is right click and say layer. And this is going to be punch items, I guess. I'll copy the name, by the way, little tip, because you want to be one-to-one. It's not going to automatically let you select these to go through and do that. But I'm just going to create these for this first couple. This is if you've already created a tool set and you need to add it to those existing markups, you can do that as well. You know, it would be nice if they let you with detail mode, select what details of the markup. So you can just checkbox these things. So that's a big ask for anyone. If you're in the Bluebeam world, that would be great. So I can mess with some of our defaults and everyone else can. Instead of having to select the markup, go to properties, right? You can also do that in here. I don't know if you could do layer though, can you? You could do your custom properties, but appearance. So let me do a layer. Doesn't let me do layers. So yeah, right click, fun. So if you have a bunch, that would just take a little bit. That's why when you're doing it from the original one, it's a lot easier. But what you're able to do now, if I place this and drop these in here, once you do it once, you don't have to do it again in your tool set. If you share your tool set, they'll adopt the layers as well. You have your layers now. So what you can do is select and deselect. The great thing about things that are already placed, now what I could have done was assign them all to one layer. So if you're creating your punch list before saving it, you could have done it that way versus it being in your tool set. That's the only downside. Like I would have to go through and select all of these, which I guess isn't going to take me that long because I just keep right clicking and then copy paste. But now these are all on one layer. So again, what I'm able to come here and do is deselect or select them on and off. This also allows for printing, and this wouldn't be like I'm printing it out to a printer. You could reprint a PDF without those markups being shown as a portable document format. So you can print it to PDF without those markups on them by using this. So just be aware. Creating these layers would be beneficial when you're first creating your custom tool sets. So as you're going through again, I would place all of them. So if I really wanted to, I guess I could place them all, but it'd probably be the same amount of time. But when you're first creating your markups, like if you're starting out, you can right click layer. You can just create all the custom markups that you want. So we'll do this one. And you can assign all of these because maybe these are the different colors you want to say every time you see this markup, it's indicated for you, the person making the markups, and everyone will know that color associated to you. But what you can do is then select, right click, add to layer, and you can just create your own new layer, you know, architect or Michael or engineer, right? That way then easy to select on and off from a layer perspective. So layers are definitely helpful to try and organize your data and review that data as well. But going back full circle, you have your markups list here. Now there is no way to automatically David was saying, have a live PDF summary report. However, if you're doing measurement data, you can have live data to Excel. And some people like to clean the data since there's not much that can go directly into Excel. But you can have one measurement column of data go directly in live link into Excel of multiple markups. So in order to do that, you have to have the complete tier, but I'll go through and show an example of that. If I wanted to get data from my flooring, if I did a flooring measurement here, and I wanted this measurement of the area of that flooring, let's see, measurement, you can have that dynamically link into Excel. This only for this specific markup. And you could do more, right? So if I did another one here, you can have these two, but it's one piece of measurement for one markup. So just be aware of that. I'll show it. Let me just stop my share and open up Excel. I think it's in default to something open that I don't want. So now let me reshare. Thing about live demos. There we go. So now if I want to, I'm going to save this as browse, desktop as always, book one. And then you need to save your PDF, and it can be multiple PDFs. Save as desktop. People always ask why my desktop is so busy. This is why. But anyways, coming back into here. So if I wanted to get data into this cell, because you have already some pre-configured columns of data, you can use quantity link, and you can create a link to the added reference files on my desktop here. You could do multiple files, remember that. I was like, why isn't it going? Hit OK. Now it's going to say, great, I have your PDF. What are you trying to grab? I'm going to grab an area measurement from my PDF. Okay. Of that area measurement, what do you want to grab? You could grab subject of flooring. Nope, that's not what I want. I want, yeah, I guess there's my label. I want carpet. So it's going to grab my carpet measurements, and then we'll do the next one. Again, you can create as many as you'd like for those specific markups. I'm going to do area again for my label of tile. And I have both. Now what you're doing is dynamically linking this data. I guess I'm going to have to dock in order for it to work. It didn't dock this correctly. It's like half. There you go. So if I change this, you can see it's the exact same measurement, the tile to tile here. It's going to update here. So you can have live data to Excel for a measurement, but from a PDF summary report, it's static. And then again, if I'm adding the same markup, it's grabbing the subject. So if it sees that subject of that data, it will allow it to pull additional information into there. So if you've already had like a configuration here, which it's then, we have a dollar amount. So we'll do $1. Oops. We'll format this to currency. So then you could do, yeah, I don't think it auto sums. Oh, it does. Cool. It's not gonna take it by that, and I want to multiply it. Oops. And then if I were to come into here and we do 2, right? So you could essentially, you could name these up the top, measurement, do cost. You would have had this already pre-configured total. Then you probably would have another one. So I'd probably insert here. And this would have been type. And we could have done, what was it, carpet. And then we had tile, right? As this data starts to update, right, our cost will increase. So this would have already been pre-configured. And it could be a count, right? Whatever type of measurement you want could essentially dynamically link into Excel. You're just choosing that data that you want to link into Excel. So it's completely up to you. But it has to be a measurement data. Doug's made a comment saying once you bring spaces into quantity link, it becomes a P to build. The primary reason I started to learn Power Query. Oh, yeah, I guess if you're saying quantity link, we'll do another one. Area, space, commercial retail. Huh. Did it subtract? So this is a commercial retail, and I said space, edit. Yeah, because I was trying to say, hey, grab everything in the space of measurement of an area, and that doesn't add up. Well, it does add up because I have these 2 additional ones. So I guess you could get the total amount of that area. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, because your spaces will be not the same, Doug. I get what you're saying from a template, but it does give me the overall area of the commercial retail space flooring. So it'll have the carpet, because basically it will be 1-to-1 if I delete this one and this one. So it's these 2 add up to this. Since these 2 were over in a different space, it wasn't accounting for those, so it looked a little bit wonky. But it is accurate. So it's only giving you the area of that overall space. So if you wanted a total space, you do that too. So you can get an accountment for items within an area too. Perfect. Alrighty, so onward. But yeah, basically you can grab space data for one piece of measurement. That's the only thing. Again, right click, quantity link, create. You have your total. What are you trying to quantify? You can only use length, area, volume, wall area, width, height, and count. So if you want to itemize a count, you could do that too. And then you can drill down even further. So if I did an area of subject flooring and label something, so you can keep going. I don't know how far you can go. And label of carpet. So if you're like in this space, flooring, space, carpet, you can drill down further. So it'll give you that total. Didn't I do commercial space? Edit. Why didn't it give me carpet? Didn't like that filtering. Because there's that carpet in the retail space. So just be aware of the order that you do these in. Didn't want to account that. But anyways, that is quantity link, and it is in the complete tier. So you do need the complete tier in order to get quantity link. So if you're watching this and you have core or basic, you can't use quantity link. And this is sufficient for some folks that are doing some measurements that aren't a large quantifiable values of information of using review. If you're trying to get just like those area measurements, length or something like that, maybe a wall area as well, it's a good option. Thanks, Doug. Yeah, have a good one and happy Mother's Day. Agreed. This weekend is Mother's Day for those of us that may not know. Hopefully, you didn't forget that and got some gifts. But anyways, let's jump right back into this. So what I'm going to go through and do is delete this and bring this out. So now what I can go through and do also is we talked about spaces, printing those out of Revit as well. We can also talk about 3D PDFs if you do want to create, since I'm already in Revit, I might as well. You can go through and create a 3D PDF. So if I just go into a 3D view here, which I'm probably not going to like everything that's in this 3D view, I'm not going to print this whole thing out because we'll sit here forever. But if I just want, let's grab this and we'll grab a box of this. So if I wanted to print this out to show this signage, you can. So from here, what I can go through and do is, where is, we want our, I'm not going to fix it. We'll just keep it as is. So what I want to go through and do is I can print this out as a 3D PDF. Now, you can do one of two ways. So you can keep it like this, or if you want to embed it on a PDF, you can do an IFC. So we're going to do both. So I'm going to export as an IFC. You could do U3D as well, but I'm just going to show this example because I haven't been able to have this example because I've deleted all mine. So I'll keep this here. Ooh, actually, you know what? Let's keep it in our data set so I don't remove it from my desktop because that's what happened last time. And we'll save it there. Export. I don't think this should take long. It's been a while since I've done an IFC. So it can be an IFC, or the other timestamp edition would be U3D. So let's hope that this doesn't take too long. Does the IFC create the whole model for all of you IFC folks? I don't think so, but it looks like it's counting a lot of elements, and there's not a lot of elements in this view. We'll learn today. There's no way that's just, there's this many elements. Is it exporting? No, because there's way more than that in the entire model. So maybe there isn't that many. It's doing the whole model. I thought IFC would do a specific view. Is that not correct? Well, that's probably because is it doing, yeah, it was in, is it, oh, it's the entire, is there no way to set up a specific project view? I'm just going to do U3D. Is it doing the entire model when you do an IFC? You can't pick a specific view. Those folks out there, maybe you know. We'll just do this because I know that's that specific view. And what you can do is in this plan view, if you wanted to call out a specific area and show that, so that was this front entrance, one of these over here, you can go to File and Edit, sorry, not File, PDF Content, Add 3D. And it's going to show you right here, you can select a specific file type, but it's going to already populate all of this open. So we'll go to there. We'll go to our demo docs here. And Oh, it looked like even when I hit escape, it created that IFC. But here's my U3D. So this will allow people to have a 3D view on that PDF in this specific area. So you do have that option of having this already part of it. So it's pretty cool if you wanted to just then notate that that's over there. I don't know. I'll bring this down here. Basically, that's your controls for this. But then you can essentially just say, here you go. And now it's part of it. Cool, right? So just some tips here. Move this down. Click out. The other way would be the IFC. Now I'm afraid to see what happened with that IFC. I hit escape. What did it? Yeah, we're not. I think the U3D is just going to be your better option, to be honest. But that is this setting here, and it creates that 3D view into there. But also, you can do 3D PDFs, which would be its own PDF, not a specific view into that one as well. So just being aware of that. There's just additional options. The other great thing about a 3D PDF, and I'll open one that I already have created, is that it comes with elements as a markup list from a data perspective. So if I go File, Open, go 3D PDFs here, we can do residential data set here. I have commercial ones too as well. But what I can go through and do is itemize from a markups list perspective if you ever wanted to as well. So down here, you have your markups list, you have 3D model tree, and any element from Revit that's been added into here gives you all of that data too. So down here in your markups list, you have an itemized list of data that will be of use to someone else that can export this data out. But also now you can reflect from a 3D PDF perspective. And it's not dynamic, so this isn't live updating when the model updates, right, in Revit. However, you do get a 3D model. You can move geometry in here if you wanted to as well. It's not like a full element move, it's by object. So like even though the stair and railing is probably one in Revit, well, I know for a fact this baluster is, it sees these as individual because Revit does group these together. These are individual elements here in review. So just be aware of that. If I wanted to move it, you'd probably do, can I do a shift? No. Yep. Yeah. Shift select will allow you to move multi-selected elements. So then I can go over here. And then if you're ready to move these, you can go through and move them as well over. So just some options. Can I copy these things? Let me select this first. Nope. Can't. I copied punch items, my automatic text. So you can't copy objects, which would be cool if you could. But there we are. All righty. Let's see. Do we have any additional questions as we near the time of ending today? Doesn't look like it. So again, next week we'll have Mr. Matt Lynn on to give some real world examples and talk about probably some things on the horizon, and also talk about maybe some integrations between ACC. Who knows? We'll talk with Matt. You will all find out on the outgoing email of what the topic is next week. And then after that, I'll be out for an eye appointment. So that one will be canceled. And then the following week, we'll have another guest and then bring right back to how quick sabbaticals are. Jason will be back the following month into June. But thank you all for attending today. And as always, if you have any additional tips or questions, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to email me if you have a topic that you'd like me to cover or us to cover when Jason is back. My email is mechave@atgusa. But until next time, we'll see you all next week. Have an amazing weekend and happy Mother's Day to all of you. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.